How you doing, Brian King, UK Flooring TV. Today we're over in Wolverhampton at MN Floor Training Limited. We're with our very own Dan Jones. All right, Dan?
How you doing? You all
right?
right?
We've got Paddy mcnicholas with us as well today. How you doing, Paddy?
You're right, Brian.
Dan, what we're doing today?
Yeah, we'll come to Paddy's. We're going to have a play with some guillotines. These are the three that you're operating with, aren't you, to start with? So we've got a proper guillotine expert with Paddy, and we'll let him talk you through some of them and see what we reckon.
So for the training centre that I've built, I wanted to have a range of guillotines for people to use so that they can have exposure to different guillotines and they can see the pros and cons of each different machine.
Yeah.
Different machines have different sort of unique
things they can do.
Different unique things they can do. So I just wanted to go through them this morning with you so that people can see which guillotines does what, you know, the pros and cons of each one.
Yeah.
And yeah, we can have a little play with them and see what.
They all look quite different, really. Is some made for specific things than the other ones?
Yeah. So this is the Grungelack. It's probably one of the oldest guillotines in the flooring industry that a lot of people use. I built my career on this guillotine. It's fantastic. It's reliable. It's hard wearing. You know, it's not going to get beaten up on the van. It's got this set 90-degree bar here, which is brilliant for numerous things. If I'm cutting planks down to herringbone, you know that is a true 90-degree line. You're never going to have an issue with that. Also, this blade cuts at an angle, so you're never going to get a burr on the back of the product. Yeah, it's a brilliant guillotine. They're quite heavy, but for it to be so sturdy, I suppose it has to be.
So is that like an oldish one compared to ones that are out now?
Yeah, I think these have been around for many years, to be honest.
Still widely used, yeah?
Yeah, still widely used. You can still buy them from brand new now. A lot of people use them. They are a brilliant machine. Like I say, I built my career on this guillotine, and then moved up to the Romus.
That's quite the biggest one of the three. What's the pros and cons with that one?
So the LP 650 is a brilliant guillotine. It gives a vertical cut, so you don't really generate any waste off it. It also has, with other guillotines, got the arm in the way, but with this one you haven't.
So you can cut the side off the tile.
So you can cut a plank all the way across. So you could turn a 6-inch plank into 3 inches wide. Also has a much bigger bed, so it's great for design work. Obviously you need the bed to be able to support the back to get the accurate cuts. Now these guillotines do come with the angle bars for the 90-degree and your 45-degree. However, these guillotines were made in America. They're not made specifically for LVT design floors. They're made for, well, these angle bars are made for getting your cut to go underneath the skirting boards basically, or getting your 45-degree to go up to the skirting boards. So they're not designed for, these bars are not designed for design work, so you can't rely on this bar because
It's not a true
playing it, so you're never
accurate.
going to get an accurate angle. So they do, like I say, a 45-degree as well, but again, there's a bit of play in it, so there's no way you can use that for design work. So to do design work, you need a template and to backfill it. But
Right.
because you've got such a big bed, you've got the facility to do that.
Do you tape your template to the bed?
Yeah, so always use double-sided tape to tape it down. You know, if you're going to backfill something, tape it, put a good couple of 3 rows on so it doesn't move. Also, never put your double-sided tape on this metal bit because it's a nightmare to get off, whereas the black bit of the bed, it peels off easily. Another thing with these that you want to be aware of is in the summer, if you leave planks stuck to it with the tape on, with the heat of the summer, you might find that it gets stuck to the bed and is a pain in the backside to get off. So what you want to do is pull all your tape off before the end of the day, before you put it back on the van. Obviously, if you've got your jig set and it's perfect and you're happy with it and you're going to be working on it the next day, then you want to leave it on there so that you haven't got to reset everything the next day. But yeah, it's a brilliant bit of kit, this is. Like I say, I built my career on the Grungelack, and I feel that I have massively enhanced my design work because of this guillotine and the functions it does.
How long's that one been out?
This one, to my knowledge, I think they've been out about 3 years. I might be wrong.
So relatively new then.
I heard about them first about 3 years ago. They are fantastic for design work. There's so much you can do on there. So these are the lights that they. Personally, I don't really use the lights because I always want to work in a well-lit area anyway.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to have to rely on that, although it's nice to have them.
Just an added feature, I suppose.
If you need them, yeah. No, it is. It is. So yeah, and then also with this guillotine, what you can do is you can slide the blade out. Yeah. So again, that function is designed for cutting corners out of LVT, for for it to go underneath the skirting board, not for the sort of precision. They don't really do much design work in America, so I wouldn't have thought that this guillotine was designed around design work. It's literally for your simple 45-degree cuts to the wall, for then your skirting boards to go on top.
Is this the D cut, is it?
This is the D cut, yeah, the LP 650. But like I say, if you backfill everything with tape, you can get an absolutely perfect cut on it. And if you set it right, like I say, you can cut your 6-inch planks or whatever down to 3 inches all the way along. Even if it was a 2 metre long plank, you can feed it through and keep cutting it and get an absolutely perfect parallel line.
Do you need to back bevel your cuts with this one?
No. Some people I've heard have to. I don't. I think if you're having an issue with the blade not cutting correctly, chances are you need a fresh blade. Yeah. They're not mega money, and
the whole thing revolves around that blade.
Yeah, if your blade's not right and you waste a couple of boxes of product,
it's expensive.
Yeah, you've got to replace the product. You've got to go back to the job. You kind of don't look great in front of a customer.
It's going to be more effort with a blunt blade.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're not going to get that accurate cut. So for the price of the blades, it's certainly worth having new ones. I have numerous spare blades here for these guillotines. Yeah. That one is brand new. I only built that last night.
What is that one? Looks a lot smaller than the Romus.
So yeah, this is the bullet guillotine. It's considerably lighter than the other two, and that probably about 10 kg.
Does it do everything the others do? Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, the thing is with this one, it hasn't got setback arms like that. So obviously you can't slide through. Yeah. It's a smaller bed than both of them. It's a smaller blade than both of them.
Is that something you'd be dragging around the room with you and working with more than you'd use this in a station area to cut things?
Yeah, I mean, this would be great for like your 3x9 herringbone, or for me this is the ideal start-off guillotine really. Yeah. It's more affordable than the other two. It's lighter, so it's going to be easy to take in the house.
Solid.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that hard wearing, to be honest, compared to the other two. It's just a couple of rails and a bit on top.
Yeah.
Price-wise, what are you looking at on these three guillotines? I know every wholesaler will be different, but
depends.
A rough.
This you're looking about, say about between £450 to £500 ish. Don't quote me. The Grungelack, they retail brand new at about £900 to £1,000, and then the Romus are about £550 to £700, depending on where you buy it from. This, for me, this is a perfect start-up guillotine, because it's light, it's small, you can build up confidence using it, and it's going to hold pretty much most of its value really for if you know build up confidence in a year and you want to get something a bit better, then you could always sell it and get some of your money back.
They make some good gear bullet tools, don't they?
No, they do, yeah. So again, this is American. The LP 650s.
I mean, that's not a bad price, is it?
No, I think they're brilliant for the money, but they are very big and they are very heavy as well. I think they're about 35 kg, so obviously you can lock the blade like that.
Yeah.
Picking this up is considerably heavier than that, or that.
I mean, would you say that's a good all-rounder if you bought that as your first guillotine?
Yeah, you can do everything with that. The only thing with that is the size of it really. When it's on your van, it's going to take up a lot of room. It's nowhere near as, it's going to get beaten up a lot more on the van than the Grungelack as well.
Yeah.
You could beat the van up with the Grungelack.
Yeah.
Whereas that is a little bit more.
Yeah.
What are parts like, Paddy? Are they easy accessible on all three?
Couldn't say on this, however there's not many parts to this guillotine, so really the only thing you're ever going to have to change with the guillotine is the blade.
Who sells this in this country?
That one, so the only retailer I know to get the LP 650s off is Bavesh at CFV Direct.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want LP 650, give Bavesh a shout on Facebook and I'm sure he'll sort you out.
I'll shove a link down below.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
Should we see what they cut like?
Yeah.
So what product are you using there, Paddy?
So here, sorry, this morning we've been very kindly given some product by Moduleo for us to use. So I've got a nice shiny Moduleo tile here. Let's have a look. Chucks the tile out of there.
Yeah. So we'll give you 10 minutes and your 3D design will be done, won't it?
Yeah. So that's
an accurate cut.
It's an accurate cut.
Yeah, that's nice.
And then the bit off the back generates a slight burr, so you know that you've cut it at a very slight angle.
So can you clean that up with a knife and that edge would work, or would you
Yeah,
just
there's no reason why
recut
you
it?
can't back cut this with a knife or with an X-Acto. But ultimately, this cut is
Guillotine
good,
cut's better than...
It's this side that you want. So yeah, does a great cut. Like I say, the blade's shorter though, so it limits the amount of design work you can do with it and the size tiles. You can't put that through and cut that.
No.
Okay.
Is the levers different on them all? Is some easier to cut with than others? Or the handle pulls the same?
No, they're all about the same because the length of the bar is about the same.
Yeah.
The sort of pressure you need to cut through is equal. That's that one. This one. So this guillotine again. I'm not putting any. I'm just testing the cut. Again, nice perfect cut, and then you can see the back edge there leaves a slight burr on it, so you know you're getting a bit of an angle with the cut. The other good thing about this guillotine, like I said, with this one you can't slide all the way through, but with this one, like you see, you can. So when you set it correctly, you can trim a tile like that and like that and cut it down to an equal.
So basically with these, as long as you're holding them flat against your jig, your line, whatever's holding the tile.
Yeah, so to cut anything like that, you need to set you need to set this distance absolutely perfectly parallel, otherwise you're not going to get a straight cut through. So now I'm going to run through some of the unique features that this guillotine has got. I feel like it's had bad press online, this guillotine, and it really doesn't deserve it. So, like I said earlier, the arm is further back on this guillotine, so you can use that to cut planks down to a different width. So I'm going to show you how I do it. Not going to give too much away because it's course content for my training, but I'll give you a little snip so you can see what's what. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut these planks, these moduleo planks, down to 3 inches wide. Now they need to be exactly 3 inches wide because they need to be parallel, otherwise you're going to get gaps everywhere. So all I do is use a 3-inch piece of product. Okay, I'll then slide this up to it, and I can see that it's absolutely tight all the way along, so I'm happy with that.
Paddy, just for people who don't know, why have you locked the blade down? Is it to stop the product going beyond
so
it?
you can lock the blade down on this so that it's solid. I'm going to get a good true line as to where to fit to, where to cut back to. Whenever you're using double-sided tape on a guillotine, make sure it doesn't touch the metal on the edge because it's a nightmare to get off. Also, I always say you only get one life with your double-sided tape, so if you take your tape off and put it down and you're not happy with it and you pull it up, you need to retape it because the tape loses a lot of strength when you pull it up, and therefore if you use tape that's been pulled up and put back down again, you've got a lot higher chance of your jig moving, which is then going to generate a lot of.
So I mean, with these you can cut a lot of pieces accurately fast.
Oh yeah.
If you're not paying attention, you can also cut a lot of pieces
very wrong. Yeah. The trick is to just keep checking as you go along, which I'll show you in a second of how to do that. So that will just slide up to there, nice and tight. Okay. So that I am now confident is set at 3 inches. So I'll pull my template pieces out. So it's important to build the bed up either side, because if you don't, the tile lips up on the edge, which generates inaccuracy. So by having it flat like that, it sits nice and flat and you're going to get a good cut. So just bring it just inside the blade here, pull it back just so it's nice and tight, get your finger by the blade but not under the blade obviously. You want to take your time with this, especially with a light product like this, because any imperfection you're going to see a mile off.
These are quite tough planks as well. You haven't chose something that's flimsy here, have you? This is
yeah, no, these are a 0.55 weight ISO. See how it's all running nice and flat, so you're going to get a good true cut. And then to check it, again, check it against light product, because if you're checking against the dark tile, it's going to hide any imperfections. And you can see that is absolutely perfect all the way along, which then generates your 3-inch cut. Like I say, to my knowledge, there isn't another guillotine on the market that you can do that with. So yeah, I couldn't have done a lot of the design jobs I do without this machine.
Yeah. So this is good for design work, also good for a production line to bang out a lot of different size planks.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
How often do you cut planks down like that? Is it quite often?
More often than I like to admit, Brian. Not so much over the last 10 weeks because I've just been in here building the training centre. But like I say, I built my career on that Grungelack guillotine, and then I've stepped up my design work because of this machine and what it can do.
Should we see how this one cuts then?
Yeah. Okay, so now following on from cutting your 3 inches out of that guillotine, with this one, this is my go-to for cutting down products. Now, say if I want to cut this grey moduleo down to a 3x9, I've cut the 3 inch on there. What I'm going to do now is set this at exactly 3 inches. Sorry,
9 inches.
exactly 9 inches. By quite simply doing that. If you're going to take measurements with the tape measure, you are not going to get that accuracy. Doesn't matter who you are.
No, because these are deadly accurate.
Exactly. So now for this one, it's just a case of slide it through. Now this guillotine cuts at a lot more of an angle than the other two, so you get a bigger burr off the scrap and more of a bevel on the good piece. So then all you need to do is obviously you've got to cut that bevel off, slide up to it, move it along a mil or two, chop it off. Always support the end bit of the tile you're cutting, so if it's over here you want to support that bit, because when the blade comes down at an angle it wants to push the tile out, so that's important. So now we've cut the burr off there, turn it round.
So these guillotine edges are basically as good as factory edges?
Yeah, without a question of a doubt.
If not better than some. I said that.
That seems to cut easier than the last one.
Yeah, it does
Use
go
a
through.
shorter plank as well, aren't you?
This does cut easier, I would say, than the other two.
It also looks like it's been used a couple of times, that Paddy. Is that your own personal?
Yeah,
guillotine?
so this is, like I say, the guillotine I've had for the last 8 years. I've never had to change the blade on it. It still cuts absolutely perfect, and as you can see, it's had a bit of a tough time. But
You've never had it sharpened, nothing?
no, never. I bought spare blades for it 3 weeks after I bought the guillotine, because there was such a big lead time for the blades.
Still got
And I've still got them upstairs, and now I'm going to bring them down in here to use as and when the lads have training courses.
So as well, with this arc that's cut out of it, you can actually, you're nailing it into the guillotine. You're a bit more
You
on
can get
top
a lot
of you.
closer to it. What I'm also doing with these, what you might see people do online, is build a bed extension.
Yeah.
So again, you've got that nice flat.
Yeah, I've seen people got a piece that's been fitted into there.
Yeah. So see, they're all cock on there. And then again, you can go do your herringbone with them. Like that. Or because you've cut them with that much accuracy, you can even do traditional parquetry design like that. Again, to check it's all level, just slide bits along, and you can see it's absolutely perfect. So you've got that accuracy, which you definitely need on every job, but especially when you're doing light tiles like this. So for me, if I'm cutting down product, I use this because you've got the guaranteed 90-degree line there. You can get closer into it. When you're cutting away, you can sit right in here and you can just chop away all day until you go crazy. But it does give you a really good cut on the back. And you can put your house on it. That is definitely a 90-degree
Yeah, I can see
angle.
that. It's cast into the bed. It's
Yeah.
going nowhere.
Whereas the other ones, if you're setting your own 90-degree angle, if you're doing it yourself, you're then allowing for human error.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything I cut down, I use on this guillotine because I've got the guaranteed 90-degree edge. I can get closer in. For me, it's more comfortable. I see other people using them from where Dan's sat. Push the bar down. And they push it down like that. Each their own, I suppose, but I find it a lot easier to just go.
Well, I'm left-handed. I just noticed that the handle's on the right of that one. The other two's a bit more central, aren't they? So
Can you
they're a
change
bit
the
more-
handle to the left, or is it fixed?
No, I just had a look. You can't change that, but it looks like those are a bit more central, aren't they? So for someone who doesn't use the right hand.
Yeah, again, with those guillotines, you just have to position your body as and where. You have to be careful on the Romus, because if you pull it down, you can take a chunk out your forehead.
You mean you've
I've done it before, yeah. Once or twice, yeah. Once or twice. So all three guillotines that we have here are brilliant machines. They all have their own unique positive points about them. You know, this one, you've got your set angle here, it's sturdy, it'll live on the roughest van, it'll beat up the roughest van, this guillotine will. I'd go to war with this. That one, perfect for your design work. It's got a nice big bed, it's got the set back arms so you can cut your 3-inch planks out of it or whatever you choose. And then the bullet guillotine is a lot lighter, a lot smaller. For me, it's the ideal start-out guillotine.
So you can use all of these for the same thing. Some have got more features than others, but really a combination of two of them is an advantage, isn't it? Like you say, you've got this with your locked in 90,
Yeah.
you've got that one there, you can do long cuts, side cuts, you can put your rails in different positions. So
Yeah.
basically, either will get you going, but a combination of the two or the three is better to have.
Yeah, I mean, if you're starting off doing design work, you're not going to be doing it that often, I wouldn't have thought. For me, the start-up guillotine would be the bullet because of the size of it, the weight of it, and the cost of it, if I'm honest. It's the cheapest out of the three. And then if you want to move up, it's, you know, it's a toss between which one to get. Personally, if I was to pick between the LP 650 and the Grungelack, I would have them both. I couldn't say have one or the other because there's just so many pros about each one that they both don't share.
And you wouldn't have had any of these three in here if they wasn't top stuff, would you?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I've got 3 Grungelacks for the courses, I've got 3 LP 650s, and I've got a bullet guillotine. I do want to accumulate more guillotines so that we've got more for the lads to try on the courses, and it's...
Maybe someone out there will donate you one now you've given such a good review about them.
That would be great, wouldn't it, Dan? That would be brilliant. But yeah, each guillotine's got their own positive points about them. They're all brilliant machines. You can pretty much do everything on each one. Actually, no, you can't do everything on each one, but they all serve the purpose. Yeah, they all serve the purpose. When you start getting into specifics for design work and which is more hard wearing and the lighter one, then obviously each one falls into their own category. But yeah, each 3 are brilliant guillotines, and I'm really looking forward to using them on the courses with the lads.
Well,
And
another
girls.
great tool review, Dan.
Yeah, that was good, Paddy.
And
Cheers.
thanks for jumping in on it, Paddy.
Yeah.
Cheers for
Thank you.
that, and good luck with your centre.
Thank you, thanks for
Cheers.
coming down.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you, bye bye.